All right, in this video, we are continuing Advent of Neovim, our sort of capstone project, write our own plugin. If you haven't watched the previous videos, you need to check them in the description. I'm going to tell you again, you can smash the like and subscribe right now, of course. Why wouldn't you? Anyways, in this video, we're going to make a footer and we're going to start pulling some stuff out into like a little bit. I don't know if better is the right word. There are some patterns for especially smaller plugins where you should maybe do stuff that you wouldn't normally do. I'll just give you an example as we start. I think it's totally reasonable to make basically a global state object. It's not global in the sense that anyone can access it, but anything in your module can access it. And I think it's pretty reasonable to want to do this. The reason is because we can just do something like this. Current slide is one here. And then we can take this idea here and we delete this and we go state current slide one. Now, this you might think, TJ, that's not really that good. And you're right in some sense, but it's also like on the other hand, you're writing a small plugin, limited scope, you're going to pass the same state around. This is like what you would want to do if you make a simple game. Instead of like trying to write a whole ECS and do all this other crazy stuff, sometimes it's better just have one state object and you just like share it because everything's going to access the state anyways. That's okay. Now, I know Haskell users in shambles, but they're probably using Emacs anyway. So it really doesn't, like, who cares? You know what I mean? It really doesn't even matter. And so we could also go something like we can do state parsed right here. And we could say that this is like nil, or maybe we just say that it's some empty table for now. And we can change this 7 to be like state.parsed. Okay. So now we can update the parsed of the state here. The reason that I like this is because we can start doing a few things here and we don't have to capture everything either via like closures or by passing them around as arguments. And I think doing something like state dot like floats and then going like dot background is kind of nice, right? We can do state dot floats dot header. Oops. Header, and then we can go state dot floats dot and we'll say body. Okay, so like I think this is a little bit nice because now we have these all inside of one table. We can even go something like for, let's say, we'll say float in pairs of state dot floats do end. We're just gonna say vim float dot win dot file type equals markdown. And now we can do some, like, I think that this is kind of nice, right? We can write something like, float like this. We can even do something like local for each float function here. And we can just say, what are we going to do? We're going to have some callback and we'll say, same exact thing that we were just doing here, float in pairs. We should probably say name, float in pairs state.floats. Because the reason I'm doing this, I'll just give you a little preview. We're gonna do a footer at the bottom, and we're gonna want to do this for all of the ones here too. Then we'll go CB name float. Okay, like this. All right, so now we're gonna for each float. We're gonna call this for each one. So we could go for each float. For each float here. What are we gonna do? We're gonna say function, and we don't care about this. We just care about the float, and we'll say vim bo float.win.file type equals markdown. Okay, so this is kind of the same thing, but if we add more floats to this, like towards the end of this, when we go footer and we say footer like this, boom, now we've got this. In fact, what we can do is we can even go something like we can say that the state should always have these floats. So let's go floats, and we can say well, no, we'll come back to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry, we won't do that. We'll go right here. So now we get each of these. So if we execute this, we'll say attempt to index floats a nil value 111. Oh, right, of course, 111. We haven't actually made this floats table yet, so we need to say floats is like this. Okay, so now we can do this, and that won't work. Buffer 2, I did 180. Oh, right, sorry. I didn't make. I restarted Neovim. Present. We need to make sure that we actually are doing this here. So what we need to do now is we accidentally left all of the other places where we just called float body and float header float each of these. We need to change each of these. So we can go state floats dot header state floats. This one's body. And then we can go here current slide. Now we go state dot current slide. which is a little bit, I think, nice because now you're going to sort of make sure that you're modifying the right state. All of them are going to share the same one every time. State dot. Ooh, let's add ourselves a nice little new function as well here. Local. Let's go key. Let's say body. Let's say we'll just say key map, because this is the only time that we'll say present key map, and this is going to be some mode key and callback. Okay, and now what we can do is, since all of our key maps are always going to be only for the float buffer, we can say something like vim.keymap.set mode key callback, and we can go here and we can say buffer is state.floats.body.buff. Okay, you might not like this. That's totally fine. I'm fine if you don't like this option. But I do think for sort of simpler plugins like this, it's quite nice to sort of just pull all of these ideas into one thing. And it lets you end up with just a lot easier to think about code, which is okay. So then we're going to say function here. And I guess the reason, just as like an aside, the reason is because it's really easy to forget to do the simple things. And so it's like, it's a little nicer to just not have that happen. And so then we can change this. We can go like this. We can take this one and we can change this to be P here, right? And then this is just, we'll just yoink this. State.current slide is this. State.current slide minus this, right? That's good. And then we can also do the last one for Q, which would be, we can take this and we'll change here to go Q. And then we'll say, this is state.floats.body. So we're going to close that down. Now, hypothetically, we could also close all the other windows, but we need to make sure that closing this works for everything. Let's just check to see if we have any other spots that we need. Yes. Let's actually go. Let's write a little macro here. Let's go state.floats.this forward to here, delete till dot. Okay, so now we should be able to go here, whoops, and do at a, nice, and at a, and we can do this for each of those as well. Whoops, at a. Oh no, did I just mess that up? At a. Oh, okay, no, we didn't. I thought I just lost that. Oh, that would have been close. Okay, state floats, current slide, and this is state.current slide. So here, yeah, that's good. Okay. Oh, oops, sorry. Oh, I was so close. I just realized right as I'm about to type it. We need to go back to present here. I knew it. Okay. Here we go. Invalid buffer ID 2781. Okay, so somewhere along the way we're getting the wrong thing here. Where let's just close out of Neovim here, and we'll restart this just because I think we've got a few things going on here that probably don't do what we want to do. We need to, let's make a new thing here, and we'll go first slide content, second slide other content. Great. This is, whoops, echo nvim get current buff 6 again. Okay, so that's nice. And if we execute this, what are we getting? 124 invalid buffer 1032. Okay, so that's fine. Let's go to what was my message here again? 124 buff float. I did win, not buffer. Classic. Sorry. Okay, attempt to index body float. Right, that makes sense because that doesn't exist anymore. Where was that again? In 124. Where does it say that we have the wrong? Oh, yeah. Right, sorry. State.current slide here. State.current slide. I thought that I had that in there. I don't know why we accidentally lost those. That's interesting. Slide.title, state.floats.header.body. What else do we have here that's missing? This is state.floats.body.buff. Great. Okay. And the last thing is we have global parse. That one's not there either. Okay, so 130. Right here, this should be state.parse. I don't know why the LSP wasn't telling me that didn't exist. Okay, nice. So here we go. First slide, second slide. We're so back. So I just think, though, one thing that's quite nice about it is that you can do some stuff like this where you're pulling all of these up and then start writing helper functions so that you can't forget to do something like writing the buffer in here and making sure that your key maps are always set like only to this buffer. Anyways, so that's sort of our first thing is we're pulling these out into some reusable functions that operate on one state. And now what we can do is let's try and add a footer here. And what we want to do for the footer is I want the footer here. We'll go ahead and do this. We'll say relative is editor. I want this to basically be like the same idea that we had with the header actually. So let's go ahead and go here and we'll paste this in and we'll go footer because it should be here. It should be the same width. I don't think, well, you could make an argument that it should have a border, but I'm going to go no. I think it's just like a nice little thin one on the bottom is good. We could also think about adding just like a border just along the top. That could look nice. But let's come back to that later. We'll leave this as a to do just a border on the top, maybe could look nice. And so now what we need to do is we need to set this to the row like that goes all the way on the bottom. So we do know the height. That's how many lines we have. And so the thing that we need to do here is we need to adjust sort of our height here. And so let's go ahead and do something where we say like local effective, we'll say like header height is actually 1 plus 2, 1 plus border. Okay. And we're also going to have local footer height is 1 right now, 1, no border. Okay, so now we have local body height, right? And that's going to be height minus header height minus footer height minus 2 for our own border. Okay, right? So now body height. Okay, so now we go down to body. We can change this to be body height. Okay, and the width minus 8 is just to do this so that we can place it on column 8. Let's go ahead and go to here. Height is 1. For the row, we want to do height minus 1. And we'll make sure that here, this is the first column, height 1, no border. Okay, so I think that this should probably work. That should hopefully put this in the right spot. Let's just check this by doing something like, when we set the slide content, we'll just do vim API nvim buff set lines state.floats.footer.buff 0, -1, false, and we can say footer like this, right? So let's see what happens if we try and run this now. We've created the footer and we've also done this. Oh, the thing we need to make sure we do is actually to close this. So now that I'm thinking of this, this is a perfect example for where we should do for each float function win. And we want to do this. We want to just basically do pcall nvim win close. And we can say win. Oh, sorry, this should be float dot win. Okay, so this should try and close every single float that we've put inside of our floats, right? So by putting floats into this list of floats that we're managing, we should close this automatically when we leave. So if we add other floats later, it should still work. And then this is the thing that we want to do here. For each float function, name float end, we can just do this. We change this to say name, updated, name. Sorry, this should be updated, float, updated, name. For each float. Right, we don't need the original config anymore. Yeah, so let's see if this works. Okay, nice. And we do have a footer. Look, you see it right here? Footer. And if we go next, not found. Oh, right. I'm in the wrong window. Of course. I didn't think about this. The thing that we need to do here is we need to make sure that we have, when we create the body, when we actually create the window right here, we need to make sure body goes last, or we need to pass true to this and all the other ones should be false. Create floating window. Yes. Okay. So that's, we should do, enter. So this should be enter, or false. I think that will work. Yeah, that should be fine. So this should make it so that all the enter, if enter is nil, then enter equals false, just to make sure that we have that going. So now it should be the only one that we enter is body. That will make it so all the other windows, we don't actually go inside of them. So we do have footer. We can press N and P. We can go back and forth, which is great. And here's the moment of truth. Oh, look at that. Our resizing still works, right? Because we put all of our floats inside of a list and they all share the same like interface. we can call resize on all of them and it works just fine. We press Q and it closes out. So that's really nice. Now we should do something where we actually, like, I don't know, make the footer do something instead of just say nothing. So let's get our footer text. I would do something probably like, so let's say local footer is string format. Let's go something like this. Let's say, give ourselves this. We want to do like slide number out of total slide numbers. And then maybe like the name of the original file. I don't know. We'll come back to that in a second. So this should be state.currentSlide out of state.parse.slides. We want to say for the number of this, right? So something like that. And we can put these on different lines like this. Okay. So now instead of doing this, we can just say footer. And if we execute this again, say what? Okay, so why state.parse.slides? Why is that not this? So let's see, state.parse. Ooh, do we not update state.parse is parse slides? Okay. Doesn't this have a list of slides? Current slides. Okay. Yeah, that should be good. Why is that not? I actually don't know offhand why that's not giving us a number. %d, length of the slides. Huh. Just make sure that we're getting the rest of that line. Ooh, okay, so that's just not showing. Are we not creating this wide enough? Let's see. Where do we make our footer options? Width is width. No, that should be good. Height is 1. Style is here. Col is 0. Okay. Why would it not be doing that? Footer text here. Footer here. Yep. Footer is string format. %d, string.format. Here, length of certain slides. Print. Well, just see. Let's just do a little debugging, We'll just do a little debugging and see here. It says 2. Okay, it says 2. So then why are we not putting this inside of here? Length of footer.buff 0, -1, false, endmin buff set lines. State.parse.slides. It seems like it should be doing this. Okay, interesting. Let's see. When we have %d and %d, it should get state current slides here. Yeah. Am I doing something really weird here? Are we getting something really weird wrong? Okay, so it should be. Are we drawing over this somehow? Oh, I know what's going on. We're drawing over it right now with the body one. So we must have done something wrong in our calculations for body. So let's go to create window configurations. Whoops, here. And let's go to where we have this height. So this must be not quite right. We must be making this still too tall. So height minus the header height minus the footer height minus 2. And this should be, body should show up on row 4. Oh no, we put this in the wrong spot, I think, here. Let's try -1. Let's see if we were off by 1 again. Nice, we were. Okay, yep, so that's why. So it's because of how we were calculating this, we needed one more row to offset the top line of where we were starting the body. So I apologize, that's on me. I forgot that we were giving ourselves a little bit of an extra space here so we never get content riding right up against the border. There we go. Now we have 1 out of 2, 1 out of 2. Okay, awesome. So now we can change this to be like this, and we could say something like %s, and we could say something like title of current file. Okay, so we need to add this maybe to the state, but that's fine. We'll go ahead and do this, right? So when we do this here, now we get title of current file. We don't want to print this anymore because that's bad. Okay, yep, beautiful. So let's get the original file name that we had and put that in the state. Let's go ahead and do something like state.title, and let's go vim fn expand current file name. I think it's tail. And then let's go down to here and we'll say state.title like this. Okay. Present.lua. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's the file that we're in. I guess technically, since we did this based on the buffer, it makes more sense for that to be something like, if we have a readme, do we have a readme here? We do. Okay, so let's go ahead and change this for title where we had this here. We can set this to be something like vim fn fname modify, and this can be vim api nvim buff get name of whatever our buffer is that we did, ops.buff number, like this, and we'll take just the tail of this. So now if we did something like, let's edit our readme file, see how it has present nvim, usage, and credits, and we say teej dv like this, and we say, okay, what, instead of doing this on buff number 6, what is this? Echo 241. Okay, let's go here and say 241. We execute this. Boom. Present nvim. Hey, this is a plugin for here. Oh, would you look at that? We get nice highlighting because it's already a markdown file. And then there we go. Okay, so that's how we can do basically like what I wanted to show in this video here is how you can start thinking about like starting to group different ideas using the same interfaces inside of Lua and starting to extend like the same ideas that we had before by doing like nice little things like, okay, we had this group of windows, now we're going to add a footer to it, and we can make all of them do the same thing by storing them in the same like list and doing stuff with them. Okay, so that's it for this video. Now we've got nice footers in our presentation plugin. I'll see you guys later. Bye.